Georgia is about to receive a billion-dollar boost from FEMA, a critical lifeline after the devastating storms of 2024. On December 11, 2025, DHS Secretary Kristi Noem announced the funding, marking a major shift in the Trump administration's approach to disaster aid. This isn't just a payout. It's a promise to help communities rebuild after Hurricane Helene, Tropical Storm Debby, and the lingering costs of the COVID-19 pandemic. The money will reimburse strained local budgets, repair homes, and restore essential infrastructure. For many Georgians, this long-awaited aid is a turning point after months of frustration and uncertainty. The billion-dollar scale underscores the severity of the damage and the challenge ahead. It's also a test for the new leadership at DHS and FEMA, as Secretary Noem pushes for a more efficient, responsive disaster aid system. The Trump administration wants to show it can deliver help faster and more effectively than before. This funding package is one of the first major moves under Noem's leadership, and all eyes are on Georgia to see if the new approach works. The goal: get resources to those who need them most, without the delays that have plagued past recovery efforts. For Georgia, it's a chance to rebuild stronger and prepare for whatever comes next. For the nation, it's a signal that disaster recovery is entering a new era. The stakes and the hopes couldn't be higher. 2024 was a year Georgia will never forget. Hurricane Helene, a Category 4 monster, slammed into the state on September 26, leaving a trail of destruction and heartbreak. Winds of 140 miles per hour tore apart homes and snapped trees, causing $79 billion in damages across the region. Earlier that season, Tropical Storm Debby had already weakened Georgia's defenses, saturating the ground and priming communities for disaster. The 1-2 punch of Debby and Helene overwhelmed local governments and emergency services. Helene claimed 250 lives, the deadliest U.S. hurricane since Katrina. The storm's aftermath exposed the raw power of nature and the urgent need for better preparedness. Homes, businesses, and public buildings were destroyed. Roads and bridges washed away. Millions lost power for weeks. Debris blanketed entire towns, making recovery seem impossible. The scale of the devastation was staggering, and it was clear Georgia would need monumental help to recover. The storms left scars, physical and emotional, that are still healing. The billion-dollar aid package is the first real hope for rebuilding. The billion-dollar FEMA package is carefully targeted to Georgia's most urgent needs. The largest share, $671 million, goes to healthcare facilities, reimbursing hospitals for pandemic costs like extra staff, PPE, and testing supplies. $350 million is dedicated to storm recovery, funding over 140 projects tied to Hurricane Helene and Tropical Storm Debby. $140 million will clear mountains of debris from more than 20 local jurisdictions, a crucial first step in rebuilding. $179 million covers emergency protective measures, shelters, power restoration, and life-saving actions during the chaos. $17 million is set aside to repair roads, bridges, and culverts in over 20 municipalities. Additional funds will restore public buildings, utilities, and support hazard mitigation projects, like flood prevention in Richmond Hill and emergency generators statewide. Every dollar is aimed at restoring normalcy and building resilience for the future. The funding is not just about recovery, it's about preparing Georgia for the next disaster. This is a blueprint for how federal aid can make a real difference on the ground. The hope is that these investments will pay off for years to come. Behind the numbers are real people whose lives were upended by the storms. For thousands, Hurricane Helene meant huddling in fear as winds ripped apart their homes. Many lost everything: houses, cars, cherished memories, washed away in a single night. Small towns were hit hardest. Businesses destroyed, farms flooded, and families scattered. The storms tore at the social fabric, leaving once vibrant communities eerily empty. Survivors now face trauma, anxiety, and the daunting task of rebuilding with limited resources. For families of the 250 who died, the loss is immeasurable. Even those spared the worst endured weeks without power, closed schools, and daily struggles for basic necessities. The disaster revealed how fragile modern life can be, and how resilient people are when they come together. Through it all, Georgians found ways to help each other, forging bonds that will last long after the floodwaters recede. Their stories are a reminder. Recovery is about more than money. It's about hope and community. Georgia's funding arrives as the Trump administration pushes for a radical overhaul of FEMA. Led by Secretary Kristi Noem, the new DHS leadership wants to streamline disaster response and give more control to states and local governments. Noem has criticized FEMA's bureaucracy, calling for faster decisions and less red tape. The administration's vision: empower those on the front lines and cut federal delays. The slow, inadequate response to Hurricane Helene became a rallying cry for change. Reforming FEMA is now a top priority, but the path forward is complex. Even within the White House, debates continue over how to execute such sweeping changes. The stakes are high. Georgia's recovery will be the first big test of this new approach. Success here could reshape how America responds to disasters nationwide. FEMA's response to Hurricane Helene exposed deep flaws in the agency. Under the previous administration, survivors faced long delays for basic supplies and housing. Many found the aid process confusing, buried in paperwork and repeated denials. Local officials complained of a rigid, out-of-touch bureaucracy that failed to meet urgent needs. Congressional hearings spotlighted these failures, revealing problems with logistics, communication, and strategy. The result: a breakdown of trust and a national demand for reform. For critics, Helene was proof that FEMA's structure was fundamentally broken. For the Trump administration, it was a mandate to overhaul disaster response. The memory of families waiting for help that came too late fueled public appetite for change. Now Secretary Noem is tasked with turning that demand into real results. Georgia's recovery will show if the new FEMA can deliver where the old one failed. In the aftermath, Georgians have shown remarkable resilience and unity. Neighbors cleared debris, shared resources, and supported each other through the darkest days. Volunteer groups and churches organized food drives and helped families find shelter. The state government worked closely with federal officials to secure resources and streamline rebuilding. The billion-dollar FEMA funding is the muscle behind these efforts, turning plans into action. Bulldozers, construction crews, and new materials are finally arriving in towns that have waited so long. The goal isn't just to rebuild, but to build back stronger. Better roads, tougher building codes, smarter warning systems. This tragedy has taught hard lessons, but Georgia is determined to emerge more resilient. The partnership between citizens and government is the foundation for a safer future. Together, they're creating communities that can withstand whatever comes next. The spirit of cooperation is Georgia's greatest asset. The new FEMA leadership is focused on two things: speed and accountability. Acting Administrator Karen Evans promises to cut red tape and simplify aid applications. Local governments will get reimbursed faster, and individuals will see help arrive sooner. Strict oversight will ensure every dollar is spent as intended, on debris removal, infrastructure, and real recovery. Joint task forces will oversee projects and resolve bureaucratic hurdles quickly. The message: the old days of endless paperwork and delays are over. For Georgians, a faster, simpler system could mean getting home and back to work much sooner. Georgia's recovery is the proving ground for this new era of disaster management. Georgia's recovery could set the standard for disaster response nationwide. If the new FEMA model works, faster, more efficient, more accountable, it may become the blueprint for future catastrophes. The shift towards state and local control empowers communities, but also demands strong local leadership. The challenge: balancing federal support with local autonomy, ensuring no community is left behind. As climate change fuels more extreme weather, the need for resilient, effective disaster response has never been greater. The lessons learned in Georgia will shape how America faces the storms of tomorrow. The work done today is building a safer, stronger future for all.